Hello, sweet grievers. Mandy here. Restorative grief is all about creating easy access to healing, no matter where or who you are. That's why I want you to remember that if you want grief support beyond a podcast, then perhaps it's time to consider a one on one coaching connection. You don't have to implement all these grief strategies alone. Use the link in the show notes to learn more at mandykpart.com/coaching or reach out to me on social media because I'm here for you, okay? Now let's get on to this week's episode. Welcome back to Restorative Grief with Mandy Capehart. You are listening to episode 156, titled Healing Our Connections with Others. Knowing how to restore ourselves is part of our grief work, but we must remember we do not live or heal in isolation. So often, grievers find their relationships on the margins while working through their loss. Holding space for ourselves is hard enough, so we can't be expected to hold space for others too often. But when we are ready to rebuild those friendships, how can we know where to start? This week's conversation is intended to cut the awkwardness of accidental ghosting by implementing a simple communication strategy to help you heal with your people instead of away from them. Communication skills are crucial for healthy interpersonal relationships. But when grief enters the chat, our ability to form basic sentences often takes a backseat. So being expected to hold a full conversation? Maybe, but only for a few minutes before brain fog and fatigue set in. And that's the natural way of grief. Our nervous systems are overtaxed and working to eliminate all seemingly unnecessary energetic outputs. While our friendships are not unnecessary, we do need to recognize that the ebb and flow of relationships is natural and expected when life gets too intense. But the challenge is recognizing that our pulling away to protect our energy reserves means we also remove a valid source of support and compassion from our friends, which can be difficult for them as well. They miss us, and that makes sense. And usually we miss them. But getting back to one another can be uncomfortable and confusing on where to begin. So that's why I love this communication strategy as an approachable method of rekindling our friendships when we need them the most. You may already know that within restorative grief, I'm a huge fan of keeping your inner circle small, honest, and intimate. We don't need 10 to 20 people watching our back while we work to heal, but only a few we can trust. And I mean trust with everything. But even that is challenging because relationships are not one-sided. As grievers, we might need a bit of a reminder that even while we are hurting, we can offer an attuned relationship to our close people without internalizing their stories and minimizing our own. The SLANT method of communication is designed to improve our engagement with others and reactivate our active listening skills without centering our experiences on the speaker's story. We'll often share an anecdote to relate to another and create resonance. It's that whole, you're not alone because I've been there too thing, and here's my story. But using the SLANT method, we can avoid that awkward recentering of ourselves and create more interaction, understanding, and attunement without making that moment about our grief stories. We can facilitate healthier communication with the people who matter the most to us, right when it counts. So if you haven't guessed already, SLANT is an acronym with 5 simple invitations. Let's go over them briefly and then talk about why this is such a beautiful strategy for grievers and practical steps to implement the strategy without too much overwhelm. SLANT stands for sit up, lean forward, ask questions, nod along, and track the speaker. Sit up is just about maintaining good posture, inviting your brain and body to align with your intentions to listen. So by avoiding the slouch and remaining with your shoulders back and your chest up, you're opening yourself to the conversation. Leaning forward slightly demonstrates your interest in the person speaking. Conversely, leaning away, back, or crossing your arms can indicate that you're closed off or disinterested in what they're saying. Asking questions shows active awareness of the story and can help you better understand their point of view. Be mindful that your questions are not leading with some judgment, such as, "Are you kidding me?" Or, "Why would you even think something like that?" Helpful questions sound more like, "Can you say more about that? How did that impact you?" Or even statement style questions that affirm their experience, such as, Help me understand what you're experiencing. I think I get it, but I want to hear you explain it in a different way. Asking questions is to create understanding, not to create a solution or checklist for their problems. So be sure you're not trying to fix everything and move back to your own story. Nodding along with your friend shouldn't leave you feeling like a bobblehead. It should feel natural at the points that you affirm your own comprehension of what they're saying and that you're following the story, even if you don't fully agree with them. And lastly, tracking the speaking means maintaining appropriate eye contact and visually following them if they're moving around. Also, it means staying in the same room as them, okay? No multitasking. This supports concentration on their words, demonstrates respect, and keeps your mind from moving to the next task, project, or topic. Rebuilding and healing our relationships with others after a period of being withdrawn can feel really uncomfortable. But we don't run away from discomfort as restorative grievers, do we? We stay with it, honor what we can learn from it, and move toward our future selves and others for a more lasting way of being together. By sitting up and slightly leaning forward toward the person, we are signaling to the body to stay interested in the moment. This intentional posturing invites our autonomic nervous system to enter into the ventral vagal state of openness and attunement where connection can happen. Asking questions helps us move from passive to active in our relationships, which is crucial. Reciprocity is a basic principle of a healthy connection. We don't show up for others simply to receive from them, but we cultivate honest exchanges where we can feel more involved in the lives of our friends and also remind ourselves that we are not without our own skills to support others, even while grieving. And be sure to ask open ended questions, inviting more than a one word response. Nonverbal communication, such as nodding along and tracking the speaker with our eyes, generates empathy and understanding without having to articulate our thoughts with words, which is especially useful when words are hard to find. We demonstrate our willingness to be with someone by staying present and respecting their voice. I know this is one thing we are often lacking in our own grief support. So, if you're grieving and not ready to move towards someone else in their story, perhaps offering your loved ones this episode could be an invitation to come toward you. That would be helpful as well. In the early days of grief, knowing how to say anything to anyone is difficult. The SLANT method offers a structured approach to gradually rebuilding our confidence in social settings and in one on one conversations. Active listening and engagement, especially when we ask open ended questions, helps grievers form deeper emotional connections and refines our verbal and nonverbal communication skills. When my mom first died, I opted to shut down my communication skills for a bit. I would show up in public wearing sunglasses, inside and outside, and wearing headphones and carrying a book. My props were useless. I didn't want to listen to anything because music was way too evocative for me, and reading was a skill I could not manage at the time. And sunglasses indoors looked ridiculous, but someone holding my gaze was just too raw for me. So pretending to read meant I could discourage conversation by appearing lost in my book. And with headphones, I could pretend I didn't hear anyone, even if they wanted to interrupt me, which, side note, was shocking how many people wanted to interrupt the reading I was pretending to do, like rude. My intentional isolation strategy created a commonplace feeling of loneliness and being misunderstood, which I eventually hated but had no idea how to overcome. Slant can help us create more positive and meaningful social interactions in situations like this instead of leaving us afraid to make eye contact. But honestly, my favorite benefit of the slant method is the control it offers to grievers. Each of the 5 steps invites me to remain in the moment and authentically choose how to offer myself to the moment as well. I'm the boss of me. I'm aware of what I want to say and how I want to hold space for my friend, and I can do so with intention. I don't need to rely on pre planned remarks or canned responses like platitudes to survive the story of another. And I don't need to worry about a specific outcome either, because I'm only here to listen, support, and receive. So if you're ready to surface back into society and try the slant method for yourself, begin with a low pressure social setting. Lower stakes situations like a support group or even a small, safe family gathering can help you test the waters without too much exposure. Be mindful of your energy levels as well. Just because you have this new strategy doesn't mean you need to slough off your self-awareness or self-compassion. If you're too tired, too spent, too overwhelmed, apply your wisdom and rest so the next time you can show up feeling aware and ready to be present. As you grow more comfortable, you may be ready to gradually increase the size of your gathering or the complexity of the situation. Observe your own confidence levels with each application of slant. Do you notice your confidence rising? How can you tell? How many positive interactions can you remember? It is also a good time to inform your friends and family of just what you're doing with slant and get their feedback. This can help you understand how your communication is perceived and make adjustments if necessary. By using slant, you are also teaching others how you want to be treated. Through showing interest with active listening and thoughtful reflection in return, others see you are present and ready to attune with their friendship once again. There's never a reason to apologize for pulling back in your friendships unless you actively caused harm in doing so. The understanding friend will see where you've been, where you're standing now, and be willing to choose to move forward alongside you as you both heal, learn, and grow. Thank you for listening to episode 156 of Restorative Grief. If all of this sounds great, but you still have no idea if you're ready or how it could help you with any lingering social anxiety or fear of judgment, please reach out to me. Professional support and coaching is the right environment to practice these skills and address any underlying issues related to your grief story that might need a little more support as well. If this is your first time listening to the show, thank you for offering yourself a chance to heal a bit further today. Check out the show notes for links to our Patreon, more information about restorative grief coaching, and to connect with me on social media. Remember to subscribe and leave a review as well if you haven't done so yet. And before we go, as always, one last thing. Please remember, the only solution for grief is to do the work of grieving. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next week.